There's a developer that always delivers excellent plugins, and it's surprising that it doesn't get more attention. So today we're going to talk about the most underrated plugin developer, Unfiltered Audio. Now, if you don't agree with me and you think that there are other developers that are more underrated, please let me know in the comments down below. Also, while you're at it, give a like to the video, thank you so much. Unfiltered Audio has made many different plugins, most of them are effects. Some are very crazy and others are very simple, but even the simpler ones have nice twists. So for this video we'll be increasing the complexity and the fun that you can have with the plugin. So you can expect that the last plugins are the craziest ones. Now, despite all the things that I'm going to say today, these plugins, at least the majority of Unfiltered Audio plugins, are always or most of the time on sale on Plugin Alliance. But anyway, this video is not sponsored, I don't even have an affiliate link for Plugin Alliance or for Unfiltered Audio, I just love this developer. So if you want to help me keep this channel independent, use my other affiliate links, maybe give me a donation, and you can even become a channel member. So let's start with the somewhat regular effects. G8 is a gate. That means that it will cut the sound below a threshold. It has every parameter you will expect from a gate, even advanced features like look ahead and a 3-channel sidechain, which I'm not sure how it works. The other somewhat regular processor is ZIP, a compressor. So yeah, it has all the parameters of a compressor, even more, like look ahead and saturation. And this saturation can also be creative because it offers bit crushing, filters, and more. But enough of that, let's start getting more experimental. Den 2 is a multi-mode, multi-stage distortion. It works with clipping and you can also choose wave folding, overfolding, harsh folding, well, distortion tube tape, glooby, and cubic. The thing is, when you turn the complex on, now you have 3 stages of clipping. Of course, that means that the distortion is going to be so much more complex and you will have richer sounds. Now below you can see that we have the modulation, which is great for this type of plugins, but also other parameters like a filter, a sample rate degrader or a bit crusher, even a probability, and all of that is going to destroy the sound even further. There's always an extra feature that will change how you understand this type of effects. As I said, on the surface Sandman Pro is a delay. The best thing is that you can set the left and right to be unlinked or to add offset from the right. If you keep the offset really short, you will have a wider delay. But then we start getting more advanced controls. For instance, we have the feedback, but also we have the cross feedback. This will create a feedback between one channel to the other. The other parameter is the diffuse, and it will transform the delay into something like a reverb. Now the interesting thing are the delay modes, which are here in the middle. So each of these delay modes will have different parameters to change the sound. So yeah, as with the other plugins, it's not only a delay, and it's very fun to use and understand, I love it. The final one from this category is Fold, a frequency shifter. We can multiply the frequency, we can add FM, and even we have some delay with its own feedback filter. Bassmint is a bass processor plugin. It can add saturation, it can make it tighter, it works with basses and also for kicks. It has different modes and it's aimed more for production rather than sound design. Now we are going to start getting crazier, but not because the processing of these plugins is crazy. I mean, it's crazy because it's the sum of many different small things. I'm talking about multi-effects. The most famous one is Biome. It has a line for different effects and a line for modulation. The effects are a ton. We have delays, distortion, dynamics, filters, granular mixing, modulation, reverbs, everything you need. And of course, many of these effects are very unique too. This is a more modular type of effect, and because of that, the types and amounts of modulation that you can add are also a lot. So the idea with this is not only taking advantage of creating chains of complex effects, but also adding a lot of movement. Now it gets even better because we have also Triad. Triad is basically biome which will separate the sound into 3 frequency bands. At the top you can see the separation of these bands, and in the middle you can choose the effects per band. Now you can set it to be 3 bands, 2 bands, 3 on parallel or 2 on parallel, mid-side and left-right. And if you choose something like 2 bands, you will get separation, but also the post effects. Of course, at the bottom we have the modulation, so we can go even crazier with all of this experimentation. And you can also modulate the bands and the separation or the gain that they have. Now, the other multi-effect that they have can also be considered its own category because it's the spectral plugin of Unfiltered audio. You can choose up to 3 different spectral effects, and you can also choose which frequency selection each of the effects is going to affect. So you can make it so each effect affects all the signal, or maybe separate parts of the signal, and you can even leave parts of the spectrum without effects. Now for the effects we have simple things like filters, or more complex things like freeze options, many different glitches, and effects like MP35 or smear or other things that you can see on the screen. You have modulation, which makes this even better. If you think that I'm going too fast, please let me know if you want me to make a video for a specific plugin from Filter Audio. The next category are the lo-fi effects. One is the lo-fi as fuck, and the other is the needlepoint. Let's start with the latter. This is a very nice vinyl effect. You may think that's not very special, but it has some parameters that are very interesting. For instance, the pitch shifting works very good, even on full songs.
It's not my time. I'm just feeling right.
And besides typical things like the noise or the crackle and the one floater, we also have a compressor with different types, which will give you that old vibe. And we can even add H, which is going to start filtering and saturating the signal.
It's not my time. I'm just feeling
Lo-fi AF, it's like a lo-fi multi-effect, but of course each of the effects is very unique on its own. The digital is very fun to use, not only because the sample rate and the bit crushing, but also because it's going to give us this skip chance. It's basically a stutter effect, but we have a probability on how often it will happen. To be honest, I'm not someone that uses much lo-fi effects, but these ones are really fun. Next category is spatial, which includes a reverb and a granular effect. Tails is one of my favorite sounding reverbs. I love it because it's huge. We have 4 reverb types, even a shimmer reverb, and you have the option to use docking, which you can sync even to your project. It also has a sample rate, which is not very common on reverbs, and it's fun to use it while you're making sound. The other spatial effect is silo. It's mainly a granular effect, but also has this spatializer and even a reverb. But the most important part is on the granular engine itself. It has all the basic parameters you will find on any granular effect, but there's something about this UI that always makes me go more experimental than with other plugins. This is one of the plugins that I find to be very fun because sometimes I'm just bored and I want to make crazy sounds, and this thing doesn't disappoint. Unfiltered Audio is well known for all of their effects, but they have actually made 2 instruments that are very good. One was recently released and the other is Lion, a synthesizer. If it looks familiar, it's because you were paying attention and you remember I showed you Triad and Bio. Because yeah, this is a synthesizer that has that effect and modulation ecosystem. So you have everything that you can find on Bion, but of course so much more because this is a synth. I mean, the special thing of this synthesizer are all the different sound engines it has. Now we have 2 engines, and the great thing is that it's not only about hearing both at the same time, but also we have different ways on how we can mix them. Then we have the other instrument, which was launched last year, and in fact for me is the best plugin of 2024. You can watch the whole list right here. It's a drum designer plugin. I mean, it has its own sequencer, which is great, but each of the engines that you can choose to make the different drum sounds are very unique. I already talked about a lot on that video of the best plugins of 2024, so I'm not going to name all of the engines again, but there are a couple that I like a lot. For instance, the Tripwire or the Haywire, the Scrapyard, and the other more synthetic ones like the Additive or the Femme and even the Kombucha. Now, one of my favorite features is that you can add variation to each new hit of a specific sound. So for instance, we have this hi-hat. But if we go higher with this knob, each new hit is going to sound different. This gives you a more groovy and interesting kind of sound. So yeah, I hope I shared the excitement I get when I talk about Unfiltered Audio. Maybe it's not your cup of tea, but you know it's mine. So let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, I will see you next time, and bye bye.